And we are also gathered here to take Challah, which is a mitzvah, and we are also going to be using some of this Challah to give out to people who are in need. So there's 2 mitzvot involved. We are going to, when we take the Challah and make the blessing, we're going to be surrounded by the energies of that mitzvah. And it is a time, we call it an Eit Ratzon. It is a time where we think about people who are in need. In this case, there's a lot of need for Refuah Sheliemah, for people to have complete recovery. And we are going to take a moment, all of us together, to think about the people that we know or we have heard, or maybe you have a list. When we make the bracha, you can close your eyes at that time when I will make the blessing, but you are all included in it. And meditate on, I think about all my family members and also all of Klal Yisrael and all of the world that needs, quick and speedy recovery. So first I want to just tell you a little bit about Shabbat HaGadol. So this is called the Great Shabbos. And like I said before, in most synagogues, the speech of Shabbat HaGadol from the rabbi is as big as the speeches that happen on Yom Kippur. It's a big Shabbos, and they call it the Shabbat HaGadol Drasha, Unfortunately, we won't have, the packed synagogues that we would normally have. I'm sure Rabbi Farkash will share some words later. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of the significance of this special Shabbos. So we know that the first Seder actually occurred in Mitzrayim. Sometimes people don't understand that, but the Jewish people were told about 2 weeks before the Exodus that they would conduct a Passover Seder, that they would have a Paschal lamb that would be offered. They would bake matzot. Their first matzot were the matzot that they ate at the Seder. The matzah that dried on their backs was their second matzot, the matzot that they were starting to bake for that day, the 16th or the 15th of Nisan, 15th of Nisan, because the Seder happened the night before, the 14th that night, which became the 15th, because we know that the Jewish night is starting by day. Izana, I just want to say there might be some people who join. If you can check and let them into the meeting. Okay, so what happened was that the Jewish people were told to go on the 10th of Nisan to the marketplace and to purchase a lamb. And they were to take that lamb home and keep it for 3 days. Meanwhile, they are checking it for blemishes, which is part of offering a sacrifice or an offering, is to make sure that it's blemish-free. So that we know that they were keeping the sheep in their homes. And when they went on the 10th of Nisan to purchase the lambs, the Egyptians began asking, what's going on? Why are all the Jews coming to the market? Why are they purchasing lambs? What's the significance? They would hear the baying of the sheep in the homes, and they were wanting to know. And the Jews told them straight out, there's going to be a final plague, and it's going to be called the plague of the firstborn son. And we are going to be offering these lambs to Hashem, and we are going to be smearing the blood of these lambs on our doorposts so that God will pass over our homes. And the Egyptian firstborns became very alarmed. They were nervous enough at this point, after seeing 9 other plagues, to know that this, if God said and if the Jewish people said that this is what they were told, that most likely this was going to happen. And it says in the Torah that Egypt was plagued by its firstborn. Maka, Mitzrayim, Bivchorehem. They were plagued by their firstborn, which literally means that the firstborn sons created a civil war. They rose up against their fathers. The fathers did not want to let the Jewish people go. And there was chaos and battle that was leading up to the Maka Bechorot, the plague of the firstborn. So this day, the 10th of Nisan, became a day of celebration, a day of miracle, even though it was a natural miracle, which sometimes are even greater than when God has to interfere in nature, because what's the natural? Basically, for sons to rise up against their fathers because they don't want to be part of a plague is normal. This is all natural. And the fact that Hashem created it in such a way that it should be natural was a great celebration. And they were celebrating this day, the 10th of Nisan, until this date became the anniversary years later for Miriam, Moshe's sister. So we know that Miriam was, part of the three that helped to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. She was the one who inspired the women. And when she passed away on the 10th of Nisan, they no longer wanted the day, the 10th of Nisan, to be a celebration. So they decided to move the celebration to the day that it actually happened, the day of the week that it actually happened, which was Shabbat. So therefore, and it's actually probably the only celebration that happens on the day that it happened, not the day of the month, the day of the week. And that's why the Shabbat before Pesach is considered to be a Shabbat of miracles, because God created a system of nature, and within that system of nature, right, the Egyptians were already starting to fall apart. So we should, we're going into the holiday of Passover, going to the holiday of Pesach. It celebrates miracles, it celebrates freedom. And we, as Jewish people, these are our moadim, these are our appointed times, these are our times to meet up with the special energy of that holiday. And even though we're conducting Pesach in a little bit of different circumstances this year, that does not take away from our ability to tap into the special energies of Passover and the story of redemption and the ability to be re-redeemed like we are every year, to break out of anything that confines us. Usually it's more spiritually, maybe emotionally, maybe for some people it's physically, to break out of those confines and to experience true freedom. And one of the ways that we experience freedom is to really connect to Hashem. We know that everything is in the hands of Hashem. So we are going to, I know some people have to get back to work, but we are going to now separate a piece of challah. We're going to make a bracha. And we know that the source of separating challah, a portion of our dough, which in this case is usually about the size of an egg, is that it says in the Torah, Reishis arisosechem, the first of your kneading bowls should go to Hashem. And literally in the biblical or temple times, this meant that every time you made bread that was 2.5 pounds of flour or more, so if it was 2.5 pounds of flour to 3.5 pounds of flour, you separated without a bracha. If it was less than 2.5 pounds of flour, you didn't separate. If it was 3.5 pounds of flour or more of the 5 main grains, then you made the blessing. This is almost 5 pounds of flour, this dough that I have here. And basically that piece of dough would go to the Kohen, to your local priest. Today we don't have, it's not biblical times, we don't have the temple, we don't have the Kohanim up and running, but we kept this mitzvah of separating a piece of dough. We take that dough now and it's sacred. We don't use it. We wrap it in foil, we burn it, and it's separated for Hashem. There's many halachot involved. If you don't take it, if you forgot to take it, if you took it and then you mix it in by accident to your bread, what you have to do. So people take, this is a mitzvah. They take it very seriously. It's one of the special mitzvot to women, right? We know that Chena, right? There are 3 mitzvot of women, Challah, Nida, and Hadlakot HaNerot. That's why in the Sephardic culture, before a woman gets married, she has a Chena party, because it's the acronym for the 3 special mitzvot for women. And those 3 mitzvot are our time to pray. Now, women's prayers are very powerful because a woman has an ability to keep many, many things going on in her brain, right? So she simultaneously can be thinking about her husband, herself, her children, her siblings, her parents, her community, and her energies, going towards that, her nurturing energies going towards that are very powerful. And that's why we use the time when we are baking challah and taking a portion, when we are lighting Shabbat candles, when we're immersing in a mikvah, we are taking those times to pray specially for our families, for ourselves, for our community, and for the world. And those prayers are very strong. So today, you know, we're showing by saying Reshit Arisosechem, the first of our bowls. Obviously, it's to support the Kohen, but we're saying that everything is from Hashem, right? That Hashem is the one who sustains us, that Hashem is the one who gives us life, Hashem is the one who gives us koach, strength, Hashem is the one who gives us health, and therefore we acknowledge that even the most basic of necessities, which is bread, is from Hashem. And I can tell you, I don't know about the rest of you, but I have not, this is all flour that I purchased before the coronavirus, and I actually could not find really flour anywhere. So we really see in our lives today that we are all in the hands of Hashem. And this is a time to strengthen our amunah, our faith, and our belief in God, and to know that God's hand is great and he can carry us all through. And everybody who needs Refuah and Yeshua should have it. So now I'm going to open my dough, and I will make the blessing. I will break off a piece, but I ask you at the time that I make the blessing to the people that you know, and if you even know them, just meditate on Klal Yisrael in general, your family members, that everybody should have a peaceful and healthy week and Passover. Zoom, taking Challot together, the Shabbat after Passover, which is in itself a special Shabbat. It's a Shabbat of the Ki Challah. Okay. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahafrish Challah min ha'isa. This is Challah.
Amen.
Ladies, it was wonderful to be